Adrian N. Breitfelder, City Clerk. You are hereby directed to call a regular session of the City Council to be held on Monday, March 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting such business that may properly come before the City Council.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a regular session of the Dubuque City Council for March 4th, 2024. As a reminder to our participants, you can provide in-person input or virtual audio and written input during the sections of the agenda where public input is accepted. Input options during the live meeting include: in-person attendees may approach the podium when the mayor asks if there's any public input on the item they would like to speak to. Remote attendees can log into GoToMeeting using the login links, phone numbers, and access code that appear on the broadcast and live stream and posted on the front page of the meeting agenda. This option includes audio input and written chat input. If you are participating via computer, indicate which item you would like to speak to in the chat function, or note that you would like to speak during the appropriate section. If you are participating via phone, indicate which item you would like to speak to during the appropriate section. All comments, whether in person or virtual, must be accompanied by a name and address. Additionally, written public input is accepted by contacting the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/councilcontacts and through the City Clerk's office email at ctyclerk@cityofdubuque.org. This information will be reiterated during the meeting. Attendance for the session is as follows: Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Council members Farber.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Resnick.
Here.
Roussel.
Here.
Sprank.
Here.
Wethel.
Here.
City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
And City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Thank you, Mayor Kavanaugh. I will turn it over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Adrian. I invite all who are able to please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move on to presentations. We have the Public Safety Citizen Life-Saving Award recognition.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Today, I stand before you with my public safety partners, which I'm going to have them come up to the front here, and we're going to present the first Public Safety Life-Saving Award. But before we present the award, we want to express the importance of empowering and equipping our citizens to step up and take action in events like the one we are about to recognize. It's an all call to our community that their actions truly make a difference. The Dubuque alone, last year, we responded to 68 incidents of cardiac arrest. 11 of these individuals survived, and 10 of them involved citizen CPR. Prior to the arrival, 3 AEDs were put into play. The public safety group is looking to improve this number by sharing stories just like the one we're about to share. We have a couple coaches in the audience, and we'll call them up. Coach Takis isn't here. We have Coach Damon Rogers, Tyler Shaw. Coach Takis couldn't make it, and student Drew Lewis could not make it either. On November 15th, gentlemen, November 15th, 2023 at 7:19 p.m., the Public Safety Answering Point received a 911 emergency call. Something amazing happened here. Our dispatchers typically run through a protocol, and they ask many questions to try to decipher the urgency of the call. And in this particular case, our dispatcher, who's here today, punched out of this protocol. She recognized that there was a serious medical emergency. When she punched out of the protocol, she was able to dispatch that call within 40 seconds. Typical average dispatch time was about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. At the same time, our engine company was on a non-emergency call. They heard the call go out and actually jumped on the call. They were able to get on scene within 3 minutes total. Engine 502 is staffed with all firefighter paramedics. Like I said, they arrived within 3 minutes. Shift commander vehicle and medic 554 also responded to assist. 7 people in total and 2 dispatchers. It's quite a lot of people. When crews arrived, they encountered an unconscious and pulseless individual who was in the care of a student and coaching staff performing excellent CPR. I know that had to be scary, right? So that in and of itself is amazing. They utilized the school's provided AED, and ultimately this chain of events and the heroic actions of our bystanders led to the successful resuscitation of the pulseless individual who happens to be here today. These individuals were placed in a frightening and challenging situation, and they stepped up to save a life. This incident showcases the potential within our community of truly making a difference in the lives of others. It also demonstrates the importance of proper training and celebrates the forward-thinking approach of a school district that chose to equip AEDs in their buildings. Without those AEDs, they wouldn't have been able to put them into play. So for your efforts in providing immediate care to a fallen community member using CPR and use of Hempstead High School's AED, student Drew Lewis, who couldn't be here, as I said, Hempstead coaches Damon Rogers and Tyler Shaw, who are here, and Dubuque County Basketball Association coach Harris Takes. We're presenting you with the first ever Public Safety Community Life-Saving Award. So thank you very much. Each community member will receive a glass award that the firefighters and responders have, and also a certificate of this amazing accomplishment. We believe you need to look at something every day to see the impact that you had. And I know Coach Garrity is here as well. If you wanted to stand, I think this deserves a round of applause, so thank you.
Well, everybody who was involved, this city council wants to thank you. And on behalf of the city council and the staff, the city of Dubuque, and everyone in the city of Dubuque, we thank you for your actions. Those of you that are heroes on a regular basis, and those of you that stepped up to be heroes in that moment, we sincerely appreciate you doing this. And Coach Garrity, we're so happy to still have you with us, sir. Thank you very much. I know that Mr. Jones wanted to have a few words here about this, a little bit of historical context of the fact that this was even possible. So, Mr. Jones.
I wanted to tell you about the missing hero. Back in 2001, when I was the emergency medical services supervisor at the fire department, a 17-year-old man walked into my office working on his Eagle Scout project, which was going to be to place the first defibrillator in Dubuque Community Schools. He was a student at senior. He'd read an article in the national news about a high school student playing football who was struck in the chest with a quick pass and immediately went into cardiac arrest from a condition we call commotio cordis. He was touched by that. He wanted to do something about it. And as this project evolved and grew, he raised the funds, which was only half the battle. Convincing the school system that it was a good idea was the other half. And if they weren't convinced before, they are now. Thanks, folks. You did that. But the company that was providing the defibrillators were starting to move a few of them into Dubuque and had done a few at our shop at Dubuque Fire. And they heard we had 3 high schools and enough money to buy 1 defibrillator, and they made 3 happen. So because of Logan Gloss, who's now a supervisory air traffic control specialist with the FAA, got his humble starts as an Eagle Scout in Dubuque, Iowa. So scouting matters, defibrillation matters, and oh my God, does CPR ever matter? Get on the chest. If you ever see somebody down, get on the chest. If they don't need it, they'll probably push you off. But if they do need it, you just might save their life. And don't worry about the airway. We used to have people not do CPR because sometimes the airway is a little messy. We'll catch up to that. We'll catch up to that. You'll save people pushing on their chest. It's easy to do, it's easy to learn. And an automatic defibrillator is a really easy device. So easy a city council person could operate it. We've got one in the back. So thanks, everybody. Congratulations. You did it.
Thanks, everybody.
We will move on to proclamations. We have Irish American Heritage Month.
All right, and I believe we have Pat Leonard and Vicki Leonard here accepting the proclamation this evening. Just Vicki tonight. Well, come on up,
50%.
Vicki.
Hi, I'm Vicki Leonard, and I am president of the Ladies' Ancient Order of Hibernians. I'm here on behalf of the Men's Ancient Order of Hibernians, Division 1 from Dyersville, and the Men's Ancient Order of Hibernians, Division 2, Dubuque. We are an Irish Catholic group, and our mission is to promote friendship, unity, and Christian charity. So we're here to accept the proclamation for Irish American Heritage Month, as we will be celebrating St. Patty's Day in just a couple of weeks, and that tends to be a pretty big event around here. So we're very grateful for you guys taking the time to do that for us, and we're very thankful that we're here tonight. Mike.
Well, Vicki, thank you very, very much for being here to accept this proclamation and for all the work you do throughout the year with the Ancient
Thank
Order.
you.
City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas the Irish heritage of the Dubuque area is an integral part of the community's character and identity. And whereas a celebration of St. Patrick's Day will be held on March 16th by the Ancient Order of Hibernians, AOH, Dubuque Division Number 2, refounded in 2013, and the Lady AOH, Dubuque County Division Number 1, founded in 2017 in Dubuque. And whereas Irish Americans have made an indelible mark on the history of Dubuque, the United States, and the world. And whereas Irish Americans are proud of their deep cultural, historical, and family ties that have contributed to the strength of our vibrant relationship with Ireland for more than 100 years. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, staff, and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 as Irish American Heritage Month in the City of Dubuque, Iowa, and call upon the people of the Dubuque area to support this event and recognize the efforts of the Ancient Order of Hibernians, Dubuque County Division Number 2, and the Lady Ancient Order of Hibernians, Dubuque County Division Number 1. Come on up, Vicki.
We will move on to consent items. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the consent items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Please state the item you would like removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration, and consent items can be found on pages 2 through 4 of the agenda.
All right. Do we have anyone here in chambers who would like to remove an
Yes,
item?
I'd like to discuss item 11.
Okay. We'll have you hang for just a minute, and we're going to need a motion to do other things first, and then we'll call you back up, okay?
Okay.
So you'll get a chance to discuss number 11 then.
I'm very sorry, I'm hearing impaired.
Oh, that's okay. Let me say it one more time. So we're going to have you just wait for just a moment, and we are going to do something else, and then make sure that we talk about number 11 separately.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to remove any of the other items on the consent agenda for separate discussion? Do we have anyone virtually?
No.
Thank you.
No input.
All right, back to the table then.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file the documents, adopt the resolutions, and deal with the consent items as recommended, except for number 11.
Second by Farber.
Got a motion by Resnick, second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones. Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. So number 11, and I think I failed to ask for name and address. If I might have missed it, but if you could give your name and address, please, before you address the council, we appreciate that.
My name is Kathy Gorman. I live at 3005 Jackson Street, across from the H&W building, the malting company. And I just have a few things I've been dealing with for quite a long time living there. A lot of it people may think isn't important, but to we in the neighborhood, it is very important. Today, I take care of an older woman for a friend of mine for 3 hours. I'm gone 4 hours a day. And my 80-year-old husband called me at her house and said, they're jackhammering our sidewalk outside. And he has his own OCD things, and he was not happy because they don't tell us. They don't tell us anything what's going on. And he got very upset. And our sidewalk is being blasted, and our sidewalk is beautiful, 2 streets, I pay sidewalks. But the gas company was out there ripping our sidewalk up. And so he went out and got some answers and called me. But because they have to cap the gas lines to that old building, they have to go under our sidewalk to do this. But they tell us nothing. Last night, Sunday night, yes, we were in the yard, and there was a wind gust like crazy came through. They said 45 miles an hour, but this huge slate shingle came flying off the building, and it's in our yard, off this building. And it's a beautiful building, but it's got to go. It's got to go. We've had so many things like this gaping hole in the building as big as this room. It's such a terrible sight to see. It's a terrible thing to see. It looks like a war, what's it doing to our home values out there, number one? And then the garbage, KWWL is always up there filming. It was on the news tonight again about the building, about how he's going to start construction next week, and it's going to be done by the 15th of April. It's not going to be done by the 15th of April. We all know that out there, And there's garbage everywhere. There was 2 office chairs directly across from my front door with a rolled up carpet in it. And I send pictures to Danny all the time, and garbage bags filled with garbage. And in the summer, the weeds grow. I have to mow my lawn. I have a lawn service, The weeds are 5 foot tall, and they do nothing. So I call the city, and the city says, we'll make them take care of that. So then they come and spray them. Well, then we have 5 foot tall brown weeds all over the place. They don't mow the grass. They don't get rid of the garbage. There's feral cats all over the place out there, and they live in the cardboard boxes that have been laying there for 2 years that no one will pick up. And now with that inside fence and the barbed wire, it looks like a penitentiary. It's a terrible thing. Cars were going up over the roadblock signs, driving right over them. I took pictures and sent them to Danny, And then they put up the concrete barriers so that they can't do that. But now we saw my 92-year-old neighbor on the other side, and I were standing on my porch, and this big truck comes down the one lane that's open, and it drives right by my house, goes up over the handicap opening at the Copper Kettle and around the cement barrier and drove right over that orange and white street closed sign. People don't care. And my big complaint, and I know it's selfish of me, I have 5 siblings, and the youngest is 70. We meet on Saturdays when the weather is nice on my patio every Saturday morning. There's no parking anywhere. 2 of them are on walkers. 1 of them's on oxygen. My kids, I have 5 kids. They can't come home. There's nowhere to park. The street is closed, They can't park in the street because there's 1 lane there. And it's just getting so bad. And I want to know, why aren't we informed? Why wasn't I told my sidewalk was going to get blown up today? Why ain't I told, instead of the news is saying, well, it's going to be done in 4 weeks. He'll have it complete down to the 3rd level, and then he's going to start saving bricks. There's piles and piles of broken bricks laying over there. It's just what happened to the sustainable North End? They always talk about the North End. We're going to do this for the North End, that for the North End. It doesn't appear that way to the people who lives in the North End. And I know we got a new splash pad down at Comiskey, but all us 70 and 80 and 90-year-olds in my neighborhood, we don't give a rat's butt about it. Come on. We don't need a splash pad. There's so much needs to be done over there, and we don't believe it's going to get done until he gets his money. And he can't get his money till April, and so everything's going to happen in April. But we don't believe it. all of us are saying, not in our lifetime. So I just want to know, can't you make him clean it up? Can't we get those chairs out of there? I mean, Duck Duck Drive had to buy a new business. They had to move. Chris at the Copper Kettle, his business is taking a terrible beating. You know, he bought 2 houses so he can put in a parking lot. The North End needs the Copper Kettle. There's not a bank for 15 blocks. You know, there's not a fast food restaurant. All we have is the Kettle, and it's a high-class joint, and it's a wonderful part to add to our neighborhood. Don't make us lose that too. You know, can't something be done? We just look and we see the tumbleweeds out at Flex Steel, you know. The North End is dying, really, really dying. I mean, we knew Fulton would be the elementary school to go down. We knew Jefferson would be the middle school to go down. We knew Sutton Pool wasn't going to be open during COVID. It'd be Flora, because the North End and the Point area doesn't get any attention. And I'm getting off track. Sorry to be a bitch, but I just wanted to put down, make him clean it up. Make him take care of it, you know? I don't want my house, I don't want people thinking I'm living in a war zone. And I'm sorry, I'm just frustrated because it's been 7 years. This guy has been dragging the city for 7 years. And they talk about we can fine him so much a day, every day. It ain't happening, you know. Make him do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for your comments. All right, I'd entertain a motion on this, and I'll bring it back to the table for discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file number 11.
Second by Farber.
A motion by Resnick and a second by Farber. Comments or discussion? Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I think that was good for us to hear that. We thought, and Mr. Sprank hears that evidently quite a bit, and he's been one of the biggest spokespersons for getting something done and done right away. So thank you, Mr. Sprank. And we have, you know, it's easy to say, oh, we are doing everything we can. And I would like to say we are doing everything we can. That's the easy part. The hard part is living with the best we can is still a slow drag. And I appreciate all the work that you mentioned, all the work that the city staff is doing right now, going down and trying to make things better. And we are very, very much aware of some of the impact in the neighborhood, but no more so than we are tonight because of your because of your story. So thank you. Thank you very much for bringing that to us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Wethel.
Can I just ask if staff would know, as Ms. Gorman asked, who is responsible for notifying her of her sidewalk today? Would that be the gas company? Would that be?
Ms. Gorman, I'm sorry. We're asking questions of each other now, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. Yeah, it's okay. We're gonna try to get that answer from our staff members here.
Mike Belmont, Assistant Housing Director. The answer to that question is the contractor generally contacts the utility companies and schedules the time to have the utilities removed. We've been asking for daily updates. I was not aware that the gas had been scheduled to be removed. If I had known that, we would have informed the neighbors. That's a little unfortunate. But having said that, I'm glad to hear that there is progress being made. All indications are that they are on track to start construction or start deconstruction on the 18th, which is what they have in their original schedule. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Mr. Sprank?
Thank you, Kathy, for coming in tonight. I know it's not fun to stand in front of us. But I guess the biggest thing is it's going to get worse before it gets slightly better, because the way that the demolition schedule is, they're supposed to be mobilizing next week.
Correct.
So there'll be like a crane, there'll be more setup. Possibly those barricades might get moved around temporarily, but they'll have to get put back up. But Ms. Gorman mentioned about right in front of her house, but also at 29th Street and Jackson, the barricades are knocked over all the time. I've stopped and picked them up myself, 29th and Jackson Street. Nobody's respecting them, and there's about to be a big project coming down in another week after next week. So I don't know how we can reiterate this to the building owner to be aware that something's going to happen, and we don't want anybody to get hurt. So.
Before they start deconstruction, we will make a site visit and review they'll have construction fencing up around the perimeter of their site. And we've had the conversations about having that construction fencing more substantial than they had in the past because it was blowing over frequently.
Okay. Is it going to come, or do you think it's going to come out halfway into the street now, or no idea? Or
it will come out a little farther than what they have, because they have to, at least for a few days, they'll have a crane on Jackson Street, and they'll have to adjust the size of the site for that crane.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
One other point while you're up, and I'm sorry, I don't remember in which document I read it. I had a constituent reach out to me very concerned about the risk of fire and just for the community safety. Could you share the safety measures that we are going to for inspection prior to the demolition of next week?
Right. So the contractor met with the Assistant Fire Marshal, Derek Paulson, last week. They went over their plan for deconstruction and demolition, and so the fire department is aware of their process. They have identified a fire hydrant that will be available for dust control as they're doing the deconstruction, and so we do have those plans in place.
I reassured him, but I was really happy to have you here to share that tonight.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Gorman, thank you very much for addressing us tonight. And Mike, thank you for being here. We appreciate you telling us what your experience has been. And I agree with Mr. Resnick. We need to hear that, and the entire community needs to hear it. Mike and staff, I appreciate the fact that you're keeping us up to date on a regular basis. We have this on every single agenda. I think you're doing a good job of keeping us up to date and keeping the public up to date. But clearly we had a communication breakdown here, and it sounds like it came from Mr. Emerson himself and the contractors that he's hiring to do this. If anybody deserves communication, it's the neighbors who live across the street. We need to be talking to the folks who are dealing with this the most, period. It needs to happen. So I'm saying that hopefully to Mr. Emerson, who's listening, and anybody who's working with him. I hope that we as a city will continue to do that. But we cannot have a situation like that again. Somebody's sidewalk should not be pulled up when there's a reason for it, and you probably would have been okay with that reason had you known that it was going to happen. But we need to make sure that that's getting to the neighbors who are dealing with this. So let's please all work better at communicating effectively as we go through this process. The frustration level is extremely high right now. And you are right that it is killing businesses in the area. It's challenging neighbors. It's challenging anybody who wants to go through the north end to be able to get there. And it's stopping progress from happening. And I agree with you. The north end needs to continue to be a focus for this city council and for the entire city of Dubuque. And we need to continue to do that. I don't want anybody in this city to feel like they've been forgotten. So we're going to continue to work towards that. We'll do our best at this council table. And sometimes that best is going to be slow and frustrating, and I apologize for that. Sometimes it is the way it is, and there's not much we can do to move things faster. But we're working really hard to try and move as fast as we possibly can right now. So we will continue to push, and we'll continue to ask for that communication, and we'll continue to say it as often as we can. So thank you very much for being here. Yeah, if you could come to the mic, I'll let you ask one more question. Sure. Make sure you speak into the mic, though, so everybody can hear, because they're on TV, too.
I want to thank you for letting me express these feelings, but I really, I know this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. We're aware of that. But mostly, we want to sit in our yard and not see the north end landfill, you know? Make him clean that area up. Make him mow the grass and take care of it and put the darn piles of broken bricks inside the courtyard where we don't have to sit on our swing and look at them every single day. He can clean it up. There's no need to have garbage bags and broken chairs and dirty carpeting and garbage laying in the street. You know, we don't need to look at that every day. I know the building's going to take a long time, no matter what he does, if it comes down, if he, whatever, the towers. But do we have to look at it like that every single day? I mean, you come out your front door, you don't want to look at garbage laying in the street. My OCD husband picks everything up and keeps everything nice, and then we have that. So that's a real major thing with, you know, we take pride in our yard. He should too.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for adding
much.
that, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay. Well, with that, we have a motion to receive and file. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
That motion passes 7-0.
We will move on to boards and commissions. We have applicant review for the Housing Appeals and Mediation Board.
Okay, we have one 3-year term open through January 1st, 2027, and we have one applicant, Mr. Jeff Leonard. Do we have anyone here to address us on this application?
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Council, City of Dubuque team. Since I've served on boards and commissions since late 2012, I figured I would take a break for this year. But in mid-February, one of your team members, Tammy Ernster, had contacted me and encouraged me to reapply. It's been a really great feeling over the years knowing that your team encourages community members to get involved and make a difference in their own community. For anyone who may be listening and watching tonight's media, I would encourage citizens to get involved by serving on the board and commission. It's a great choice that I made because of advice from Mayor Buell in August 2012. In the last 12 years, I feel like my involvement in the community has provided me with educational experiences, lifelong lessons, and skills so I can be an effective member of the Housing Appeals Mediation Board. My communication with citizens who have struggled with housing-related issues has been an eye-opening experience for me, and I want to be the voice of those who may feel like they don't have always have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Anyone else to comment? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to public input, please, Adrian.
At this time, anyone participating in the meeting may address the City Council on the action items on the agenda or on matters under the control of the City Council. For all in-person attendees, please approach the podium and state your name and address when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and the overall public input period is limited to 30 minutes. Under the Iowa Open Meetings Law, the City Council can take no formal action on comments given during public input or that do not relate to the action items on the agenda.
Thank you, Adrian. Do you have any public input this evening? Yeah, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Cox, 924 Arrowhead, East Dubuque, Illinois. I believe you were sent an email with an attachment that I am going to talk about just briefly tonight. I am an avid historical nut. I love history. And I got, over 5 years ago, involved on a project with the Rockdale flood of 1876. And it was just 5 years ago, last night, that I did my first PowerPoint presentation on the topic. My goal is to have, by July 4th of 2026, a memorial park built near the former city of Rockdale to commemorate the flood and the 39 lives that were lost that night. I have been working with Christine. She's been very helpful. I've been working with, and we got on the Historic Preservation's work plan for 2024. We are on that plan to get this park built by 2024. I have also been working with Brian Preston from Swiss Valley, and we are getting some historical interpretive signs put up there, also related to this flood. This is just a phenomenal event, tragic event. It's a significant event for the state, and it's just a great story. There's a lot of tragedy, but there's also a lot of heroics involved. Citizens stood up and helped others during this flood. The cleanup, the picking up of the bodies was all done by citizens. So I think it's just something that this city should recognize and commemorate. And I really want to get that done by the sesquicentennial, which is July 4th of 2026. Now, all I'm asking for you, from all of you members of the City Council tonight, is to attend 3 meetings. Number 1 is on March 23rd, 2024 at the E.B. Lyons Preserve. This will be my about hour and a half long PowerPoint presentation on the flood itself. Where it happened, what happened. I go through each individual family members and where they were when they died, and all the stories about the orphans and where they ended up going, and I do the whole history of the flood. Secondly, on April 14th, I'll be out at Swiss Valley Nature Center talking about a mill and dam that used to exist at the Swiss Valley Nature Center, built by a man by the name of Henry Glade. And that dam broke the same night as the mill dam in Rockdale. Those 2 dams collapsing simultaneously caused a domino effect that sent that wall of water through town, nearly wiping it off the map. And so I incorporated the Henry Glade stuff, his story alone. He's an orphan by the time he gets to America, Fortune 500 company that he founded. It's just a great rags to riches story, again, right here in our city of Dubuque. And then lastly, and I apologize, I forgot to put the date on the very bottom, the historical interpretive sign unveiling at Swiss Valley on June 30th. June 30th, it's the Sunday before July 4th. We have Brian Preston. I developed the narratives and stuff for 2 historic signs that are going up at the Nature Center about the flood and about Henry Glade's mill and his role in that flood. What I'm hoping is if you folks can go to those events and see what's happening and learn the history, I'm hoping to get some legs on this project, because I know it's from tonight, it's 2 years and 4 months is what we have left for the sesquicentennial. That'll be gone just like that. And so I'm really trying to get some legs on this, trying to get some help from the council, trying to get some feedback of what I could do differently or what I can do more to get this project going. I know the city has done a historical dig, an architectural dig last summer and found the foundations. I know it's been deemed a historic site so that they can't build there. So I know we're making some progress. I just want to make sure we keep it moving, because that 2 years I think can go by pretty quick. Lastly, I just want to ask if there's any questions, comments, concerns, or any advice you guys have for me as I go forward with this project over the next couple of years.
Well, unfortunately, we are not able to address you in this context,
Okay.
but you are able to write to us to get some information back from us.
Right.
So
And you guys have my contact information on the bottom. If you have something, please shoot me an email. I'd love to get some direction and kind of keep this thing moving.
Great.
So, and I hope that you all can make it to the presentation. I don't want to, sound like a braggart, but it's been a positive thing. A lot of people have been showing up. It's been a popular topic. So I'm really hoping that you guys can attend. It'd be great to see you all there. All right.
Thank you, Kyle, for your comments. Any other public input this evening? Do we have anyone virtually?
We do not.
Thank you.
I'll just note that the written input that Mr. Cox referenced has been shared with the council.
Great. Thank you very much, Adrian. Okay. Seeing nothing further, we can move on to action items, please.
Action item number 1 is Greater Dubuque Development Corporation's You Can Be Great Here campaign progress brochure.
Mr. Mayor, I move to receive and file, and Mr. Mayor, with your permission, invite Mr. Dickinson to introduce the program to the public.
Second.
A motion by Resnick, second by Mr. Jones, and we'll be happy to hear from Mr. Dickinson.
Mayor Kavanaugh, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, City Manager Mike Van Milligan, and most excellent city employees and citizens of Dubuque. My name is Rick Dickinson. I reside at 205 Hill Street here in Dubuque, and I have the pleasure of serving as the president of Greater Dubuque Development Corporation located at 900 Jackson Street here in our community. I am here tonight to thank the mayor and council, city manager, and staff for including in the utility bill that's been sent out in February and March a summary of the last year and a half of Greater Dubuque Development's campaign called You Can Be Great Here. Before I begin explaining what we included in that document for the citizens of Dubuque, encouraging them to take a second look at it, I'd like to thank Randy Gale from the city of Dubuque and Jenny Peterson Brandt from our office for putting this lovely piece together. Greater Dubuque Development was established 40 years ago in November of 1984. It is a public-private nonprofit partnership formed for the purpose of retaining and creating quality employment within our region while maintaining and enhancing our quality of life for the benefit of all businesses and residents. While our focus is on Dubuque and Dubuque County, the MSA of Dubuque, the positive impact of our actions, relationships ripple throughout the tri-state area. Our 2022-27 You Can Be Great Here campaign is a 5-year plan with aggressive goals, clear strategies, and actionable steps aimed at population growth, job creation, increased wages, construction investment in our market, and perhaps most importantly, poverty reduction through the reward and the dignity of work and a job. Through our 3 pillars of workforce solutions, business services, and strategic initiatives, we support and grow our business community and their workforce while constantly improving our region's quality of life. With the help of regional leaders, elected officials, businesses, nonprofits, educational institutions, and citizens, perhaps most importantly, citizens, working closely together, we can create a vibrant region of choice that delivers on the promise, you can be great here. The document in the utility bill is a 4-page document. It begins with the goals established to be achieved by 2027. They include increasing our population to 105,000, increasing the number of jobs in our market to 64,000, increasing the median household income to 76,000, having $1 billion of construction in both commercial and residential development, and a 5% reduction in poverty in our community. Those are goals, but the important part of any strategy is to have strategic plans as to how to achieve them. And that is the most important thing that the board of directors of 46 members that includes city representation have done with You Can Be Great Here by 2027. We divide our work into 3 categories: workforce, business retention, expansion, and recruitment, and strategic initiatives. Under workforce, and I think it's often the case where unless you eat, sleep, and drink this, you don't fully understand the strategies that are in place for all 3 of these categories. In workforce solutions, manage resources, facilitate relationships that streamline connections between employees and employers. Uniquely in Dubuque, in partnership with Woodward Communications, we both handle AccessDubuqueJobs.com, a unique public site with over 185 employers that post their opportunities on that site. Last year alone, there were 13,488 jobs posted, new jobs posted on that site. 375 job seekers attended career fairs that were held as part of our Workforce Solutions program. We also, under Workforce Solutions, are responsible to recruit and retain newcomers through direct programming and targeted marketing strategies. That includes Distinctively Dubuque, a class that invites newcomers to come and meet each other, develop a network within the community, and have a better understanding of this community that they now call home. Over 102 folks attended that class last year alone. And we have an alumni that goes back to 2009 with nearly 100 every year since. The You Can Be Great Here campaign is focused on both retaining and recruiting that workforce. And we have an annual welcome of Dubuque students outreach that is a letter signed by the mayor of Dubuque to every student that attends the institutions of higher learning in our market to welcome them to this community, to assure parents they're coming to a great town, with the intent of begin the process of selling them on the notion of having Dubuque be the place of their opportunity going forward upon graduation. And we connect untapped talent and opportunities for personnel and professional growth in the community. You Can Be Great Here, community of colleges events. First of all, the city of Dubuque, per our request and their generous offer, the mayor and council agreed to provide transportation on the Jewel for our college students to get off campus and learn more about our community. Our Dubuque networks work with partners and workforce from the public sector to the private sector to the nonprofit sector to coordinate and collaborate and have more impact with what we do. Opportunity Dubuque Certificate of Training tuition support, paid for in part by the city, the county, and the DRA, and the Board of Directors of Greater Dubuque Development have allocated the resources necessary to train over 3,582 people since its inception in 2011. 200 in the last 12 months have gone through the program, and our 92% graduation rate, a 92% employment rate upon graduation. Next, we have business services. Info action interviews. We sit down at Greater Dubuque Development, our team, Jason White, Dan McDonald, and now Rob Apple, meeting with over 250 businesses per year. Usually it approaches 300. We ask the same questions of each. We are leaders in the state in doing this. We have supplied a new program, contact manager software, which is being used by other communities in the state, led by Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. Opportunity Dubuque has really been a partnership between Northeast Iowa Community College and Greater Dubuque Development. Under business services, we also do business assistance requests. Over 247 of the 300 people we interview every year have shared with us a need for connection and some solutions, and we work with them to find solutions to those problems. We identify and promote opportunities for business to relocate and business expansion within our community, and we've had great success with that. In the last 12 months, we've had 5 new expansions assisted by Greater Dubuque Development Corporation with an investment of $46,985,000. Provide access to labor data and market insights to maximum resources and promote adoption of best practices. We have a quarterly and annual action dashboard report, which is supplied to our board of directors and to the community, which itemizes the information we received from employers in the last 3 months. Annual wage and occupation reports, annual skills gap analysis, one of which will be announced next month. Salary.com compensation analysis services for the employers in our market to allow them to better understand what competitive prices are across the country, and business services information events throughout the year. Strategic initiatives. In 2022, Greater Dubuque Development sponsored the Dubuque Housing Needs Assessment. Thanks to the leadership of the mayor and the council and your staff, you have implemented incentives that now have resulted in over 2,000 units being at some stage of development in our market to address the need that did exist based on the study that was conducted by Greater Dubuque Development. In 2022, Greater Dubuque Development conducted a similar study with child care needs, a child care analysis that revealed that we had significant needs as related to infant care, drop-in care, and shift care. And because of that study, and with partnerships both in nonprofit and in the state level, There were 3 successful applications for state funding for 3 new child care centers in Dubuque County, one in Dyersville, one on the west side of Dubuque, and the other Cottingham and Butler, located on Main Street. We made a successful application for another grant that was a 2-to-1 match to total over $800,000 to support the recruitment and the hiring of new child care workers to increase capacity at each facility. We'll be making some announcements later this month that not only have we reached that $800,000, but we have a significant number to announce that will provide a 3-year program for hiring child care workers in our market. And our Next Gen study, asking over 2,000 Dubuquers what's next for Dubuque, will be announced next month as well. Bringing the public and private sectors together to secure and utilize diverse resources to deliver on community profiles. The increase in child care capacity is a result of that. Housing tax credits and incentives for developers to really take the risk and build housing that's desperately needed in our market. Renewable energy and biogas, from solar to biogas, being leaders in the Midwest and the country to prove that, in fact, we are a model for sustainable communities. And urban redevelopment and planning and projects. We also, in the housing market, public transit commuter routes have been established to reach out to the unemployed, underemployed population to remove the barrier of transportation to have gainful employment. And thanks to the city's new workforce routes that run north to John Deere and west to the Dubuque Industrial Center West, we've greatly improved the access to employment in our market. And of course, broadband providers were part of our initiative, and we're pleased that IMON, by the end of 2024, will have had a complete build-over in Dubuque. The result of the first 18 months of You Can Be Great here, 105 population, one of our greatest challenges. We're now at approximately 99,000. We have a great deal of work to do in an extremely competitive market in a Midwest that is losing population. We're holding our own. Our population growth in the last year has been one of the strongest of all metros, but yet we need to have greater growth to reach the achievements that we wish to reach in the next 5 years. Dubuque County labor force to be at 64,000, another Herculean goal. We are at 61,000 plus, which brings us back to pre-pandemic levels, and we are working hard to make sure that we have the workforce that our employers need through retention, recruitment, and creation. Our goal of having a median household income of $76,000, we have increased from the base of $68,198 to $73,495, a 7.3% increase, and we do believe it will achieve that goal before the end of the 5-year period. Our $1 billion goal for construction, we are far ahead of that, well over $400 million in development just in the last 18 months. And the reduction of poverty, I regret to report that we're down 0.1%. Most of that is because the ARPA dollars that provided credits to low-income households has been discontinued, and we have a lot of work to do to raise up the most vulnerable in our society. That is a report that's been sent to all the taxpayers. I appreciate the city providing the opportunity to supply that information because the taxpayers are a significant partner in all that we do in this work to achieve a greater economy in the tri-state area. And I'd be glad to answer any questions the mayor, council, or staff may have.
Well, Rick, thank you very much for being here and for presenting this to us and to the community to give us a sense of where we are in this journey that we're taking here for this next 5-year plan for Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. And I just want to make sure I say on behalf of the City Council, we sincerely appreciate the partnership of Greater Dubuque Development Corporation, not just with us and not just with the City of Dubuque, but with this entire community and entire region. It is incredibly important, the work that you do, and we see that every single day. So thank you very much for being here and to you and your staff for doing it every day. Anyone have any other questions or discussion this evening? Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just would like to say, as you did, that we appreciate you underlining this hard work that's in progress. I mean, I'm going to invoke a out-of-date metaphor, so to speak, because this is largely under the radar. A lot of people don't see this in their daily lives, but we have this group of partners and partnership here working hard for this community. So, and you highlighted so many things in this very succinct brochure you have here, and so much of it, every one of these strips of information is just the headline for maybe like a 2-page report that you could give on each one of these, that are some of the things that are going on in here in this community because of Greater Dubuque Development Corporation and your partners. So again, I want to thank you very much. You keep identifying goals and meeting and exceeding them. So you have very good, you have a good feeling for this program that you've highlighted here. You can be great here. So far, I know you're never totally happy with something, but is this going well?
As my family says, I'm not happy unless I'm miserable. I do think there's constant pressure to always reach the next level. The 2 goals we have of the 5 that are the greatest challenge certainly would be population growth and job growth. They run hand in hand. The state of Iowa is not doing well in general. We are doing better than most metros in that state. The Midwest is challenged as well. Those are 2 daunting tasks that we have to be very creative, and we are. We're reaching out to expatriates that have left our community, trying to do a better job of retaining college students that are graduating from these wonderful institutions in our market, making sure, as you are doing every day, that this is a community of choice where it's easier to recruit people to meet their full potential. But those 2 goals are challenging. Other communities are trying to hang on. We're trying to grow. And it's a daunting task, but one that I think together we can achieve.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we'll see no further discussion. Rick,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Okay, motion here is to receive and file. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Action item number 2 is prepared live.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and view the presentation.
Second.
Roussel, second by Wethel. And we will, Mike, do you have a memo, or are we just going straight to presentation? Okay.
Great to me. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jessica George Rethwish, the Dubuque 911 Emergency Communications Director. Just going to give you a quick review of a new web-based program that Dispatch went live with at noon today. It's currently, there's 4 tiers to the program, so we're on the starter tier, which is not costing us anything, which is a huge perk for right now. We're going to see how the citizens take to the program. It's basically, if they call 911, we've had the ability to text on 911. This program enhances that a little bit, where we can send a link to the caller, and if they click on that link, then we have an open line with their camera on their phone. So we're able to get photos through 911, we're able to get video through 911. A big perk to the program is it will translate over 160 languages through text message. That is part of the paid program, but they gave it to us in the starter pack for the first little bit to see if it's used or if the citizens will use it. And like I said, you don't ever know if a program like this is going to be receptive to the citizens. I think some will use it. Other times they may not want us to have permission to be in their phone per se. So it'll be trial and error for the beginning. Like I said, we just went noon. Noon today was our go live. We've been training for 3.5, almost 4 weeks on it with the dispatchers in a training mode where they could call and test from a cell phone that we had in dispatch. We do have a couple of cautions on it. The dispatchers, I know they hear a lot already, being in that field as long as I was, and I don't know that I want them to see everything that they could possibly see on a live camera feed. So they have the option to blur it. It's a toggle. They just switch their screen real quick. Their screen blurs. Everything still records to the archives. And police officers, sheriff's deputies are still able to use it for their investigation, and it is still able to be used in court as it's a video, but it's gonna protect the dispatchers if they don't wanna see it. And the other one is not every single 911 call will get, I don't want the citizens to think every single person that calls is gonna get a link and we have to get into their phone. It'll just be the obvious, if it's a car accident that we need to see something, or an active disturbance, some type of a fight that's happening, just the active stuff. And if we get multiple calls on it, obviously we don't have enough staff to send a link to everybody. So once we have a live link going, we would just thank the other callers, get their information, and move on. So for right now, we're gonna give the starter tier a go and see how much feedback we get on that, and then we can move from there if we need to up the levels. Questions?
All right, Jessica, thank you very much for the presentation. Questions and discussion? Ms. Farber.
Have you had feedback already about the opportunity to be on camera?
We have not. Jones County has the program, and so does Grant County, Wisconsin, and Platteville Police Department. And Grant County's been on the starter tier, and they just went to the first tier where they're starting to pay because they have had quite success with it. So I'm hoping, you don't ever want anybody to have an emergency, but if an emergency happens, I just want Dubuque to be as prepared as we can be with technology. And
are we promoting this somehow, or advertising that this is what it's going to be for options, as opposed to, oh my gosh, it's a live situation and I have this choice to make?
No, yeah, we did a press release on Friday through the city, and then I spoke with KWWL and KCRG this afternoon. I talked with both of them. So it's out there and it's on social media. The city put it on social media. I think that was Friday afternoon that they put it out there. And so far it's been positive feedbacks from the community on the social media aspect of it. And like I said, the downfall from my side is I don't want my staff to have to see some of what could be presented, but they do have that ability to blur that out.
Okay, thank you, and good luck with the program.
Thank you.
Jessica, this is fascinating. I mean, first of all, I really appreciate you and your staff looking towards innovative ways to improve the services that you already offer, which we already heard tonight are pretty impressive services. So we really appreciate all the work that you do. And I think while none of us, well, maybe not all of us at least, can appreciate fully what it means to be an emergency responder, we do, I think, try really hard to appreciate the challenges that you have with you and your staff as well. A lot of times when we have something new like this, we gather a lot of information on it over time to see how it's going. So one of the things I'm curious about is how are you going to collect the data to understand how this is working, how it's affecting your staff? I mean, you don't need to tell me the ins and outs of all the details, but I mean, is that something that you've put in place to be able to make a determination about how to move forward with this in the future?
Yes, as soon as we came off of test mode this afternoon, every single call, whether it's a text message, a photo, or a video, is in the archive system. And that's there for us to review at any time. And then you can also they have different statistic reports that you can run. Again, some of it's based on what tier you're on, but we'll get quite a bit of feedback for where we're at on the starter package, on how often it's used. Right now, we use the Smart 911. If someone calls in on 911 as a hang-up, we try to call them back. They don't answer, we send them a text message. This program we could use for that as well. And it has the canned messages already made, or we can make the messages. So there's a wide variety of things we can use it for once we get a feel for how the community takes to it.
Sure. What's the timeline for making the decision going forward? Right now we're doing the starter package. How long does that last, and when do we?
They don't shut it off.
Okay.
So, and they base the pricing tiers based on the amount of 911 calls your comm center takes. So when I started talking to them back in December, I gave them the 30,000 count because that's kind of where we were at and of course, that's the cutoff. 30,000 is the cutoff, so if you go over that, you go up to the next tier for pricing. But yeah.
Got it. And then would this be a decision that we'd make, sort of, are you looking at the next budget year to think a little bit about this for your department? Because obviously we're not talking about this coming budget year.
No, yep, it would be next budget, if not further out from there. If the starter package is good and does everything we need it to do, we will be good with that.
That's great.
The only thing that we would maybe miss would be that language, the 160 languages that get translated.
Yeah.
That comes with the first paid tier, which is kind of the thing
Yeah.
I think that pulls the people in, because you don't have that on your starter tier.
Yeah, I definitely heard you say that, and it did pique my interest because we are starting to see quite a number of languages spoken by folks who are moving to Dubuque.
And I don't want them to not call 911 for fear that
Right.
we're not going to understand them or not be able to get them the help. So that was a huge plus on mine, and he was very generous to turn that on for us for a while so we could test it out.
Yeah, that's great. That's great news. Well, I look forward to seeing and hearing more of how this works and some of the benefits and drawbacks as you look into it a little more closely.
Yep.
But I think this is a very exciting new project for your department. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Well, with no further questions or discussion, thanks again for
Thank
being
you.
here to present that to us. A motion here is to receive and file and hear that presentation. So, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 3 is approve Reimagine Comiskey Park Phase 2 National Park Service Outdoor Recreation Legacy Grant Application Submission.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second?
A motion by Sprank and a second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Leisure Services Director Marie Ware is recommending City Council approval of the Reimagine Comiskey Park Phase 2 National Park Service Outdoor Recreation Legacy Grant Application Submission and adopt the attached resolution. Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership funding would support recreational improvements at Comiskey Park. The project would provide residents in the North End and Washington neighborhoods with greater opportunities for play and leisure activities. The federal investment, should we be so fortunate as to receive the grant, will support construction of 2 full-size basketball courts, development of a new shaded picnic areas, replacement of an older basketball court, skate spot, and tennis court with a multi-use playing field, building trails throughout the park, establishment of a new park entryway, creation of a 53-stall parking lot, and additional landscaping, including trees and native plantings. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I got to tell you, I'm excited to be talking about Phase 2 already. This is great. I know we didn't expect to have opportunities like this right off the bat, but one of the things I love about us as a city is we continue to look for these opportunities and go after them when they present themselves, because this is ready to move and we've got a chance to do it here. So I'm definitely voting for this one. Any other discussion or questions? Yeah, Mr. Sprank.
Echoing everything you said, with this warm weather, unexpectedly warm weather, the amount of folks and children and families that have been using the park these last 2 days has just been phenomenal. So Phase 2 would be perfect for the neighborhood. So I know everyone will support it. So thank you.
Great. All right. Well, no further comments or discussion up here. So Marie, thank you very much to you and your staff and everybody who's working on these grant opportunities. So motion here is to receive and file and adopt this resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 4 is 2023 Dubuque Police Department Annual Report.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel?
I move to receive and file.
Second.
Got a motion by Roussel and a second by Jones. Mike, please.
Actually, we have Chief of Police Jeremy Jensen here. If anybody has any questions for him about his annual report.
Excellent. Well, Chief, actually, I was going to ask you anyway, if you wouldn't mind coming up and just giving us a high-level summary. I know we've had some good things to read here, but some things that are really key to you that you think we should be paying closest attention to and things you want the community to know about.
Sure. Jeremy Jensen, Chief of Police. And simply, if you look at that, this is the first time we've done this in this format, so you get to see it in the, thanks to Randy Gale and his shop for putting this out, because it's It's a very good visual. A couple things just to point out. One, we're a safe community. I mean, that's, I think, something that we can point out, and I think this shows that. A couple other key areas that I think are very important, and we kind of highlighted in here. As you can see, brain health is, and you've heard me talk about this, and you'll hear me talk about this again in the near future, but that's a very big component. We've started in law enforcement into this field, and quite honestly, it's not going away. There's a lot of components that we need to work with a lot of partners on to make it better than it is. So that's a big component there. Another component I'll point out is just our community policing in general. Community policing in general. They're out and about. They're the ones you see at the neighborhoods. They're the ones you see in the schools, because the school resource officers are part of that. Again, a little non-traditional as some of the law enforcement aspects of it, but a very key component because they're the ones that are looking for the long-term solutions to a lot of our issues that we deal with. And then the third part I really want to point out is that we got really good officers that are using the technology being the camera system. We've talked a lot about cameras here in the last year, but it really is. And you can see our clearance rates. Our clearance rates let us solve things like we can suspend cases, which you don't see in the national statistics, with pretty good accuracy, meaning we've run the case as far as we can run it. It gives us a pretty good, accurate idea of what's going on. So it's very important that we have those camera systems. A lot of places are envious of that. And again, our officers are leveraging that to do some really good work. And so I kind of just want to point that out too as another area that as we move to the future that, we look to leverage technology. And that's what we've been, again, talking about for the last year.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. One of the things, while I wait to see if there's any other questions or discussion, you mentioned, some of these numbers are looking pretty good. Some of them you'd like them to look a little bit better. But one of the things I appreciate about the fact that you put a report like this out is the level of transparency that comes from the police department in the city of Dubuque. It's not that way everywhere. We don't see these types of statistics coming out in this format so everybody can see them all the time. And some of these are very, very good. You mentioned the crime clearance rate. We are definitely a safe community, and you're continuing to work on some of the challenges that we have. So we appreciate the fact that you're putting this out in this format. Any other questions or discussion? Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to again agree with what you just said and emphasize that, especially in the final one, the final paragraph, when you talk about professional standards, you're not just a cheerleading for the squad, right? You're saying we're working very hard and always, relentless improvement is what you're after. And you mentioned some things that are challenging, and some of the challenging things that have happened this year with our police department, and you're working to address those things as well. And as the mayor said, some people wouldn't talk about that. You put it in writing, and so that's fantastic. So I want to thank you for this entire, this easy to understand, challenging brochure that you have here, and more importantly, for all the great work you do for us and our citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I just got to once again express my pride in the way you do policing, in the fact that emotional IQ is high on the list of people's concerns as they're responding to a call and figuring out how they are and how they're going to react to it, and assuring the best possible reaction. The compassion shown to even the bad guys, who many people don't think are worthy of it, but they get it anyway. And the care taken to cause the least amount of harm when some harm has to happen. Today's a good example. You guys waited out a subject for hours and negotiated peace without anybody getting hurt. That's tough, and that's not necessarily typical. So there's a lot of agencies that can't wait to kick the door and see what comes next. And I'm proud that you're not one of them. I describe it to other people as policing with a conscience, and your conscience is showing. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Farber.
Yeah, so I had a conversation today with a gentleman who has been in conversation with some of the officers about a noise abatement in his neighborhood. And one of the comments that one of your officers made in writing was that how appreciative they were of the fact that this resident would reach out and actually give them a video and have conversation about the noise in the neighborhood that they probably weren't aware of. And so we had a nice conversation about that today, and it was my pleasure to say, gosh, do it again, and as often as you can, so that the police group can be more aware and more educated about where some of the needs are, so that if indeed we did do cameras and other kinds of technology, maybe his neighborhood would be one of the ones that could be used as an example or to get it kick-started. So I just wanted to thank you for that outreach to many, many different folks in the community, and also for the ongoing efforts that you guys do to keep us safe.
Community policing isn't valuable without community partnership, so it's the only way it makes it work.
Yeah, and very much appreciated the memo, because that was the first thing he said in writing to this gentleman. So that really, I thought, was just wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Wethel.
It's really small, but I think it's really important. You have 21 educational presentations. And as a healthcare provider, I was really excited and very pleased to attend at Mercy One for our emergency care providers, both in hospital, in the ER, and outpatient setting. The Drug Task Force presented a great hour plus of information to us, and I can't say how valuable that is for us. And so I want our residents to know that you are helping to educate us on what we need to do when people come in crisis as it relates to your job, our job. That collaboration doesn't happen everywhere. And so the opportunity for us, it was a packed room, to see and hear from your officers in the Drug Task Force was invaluable. So thank you, and keep up the great work.
Thanks.
All right. Well, with that, thank you very much, Chief. We appreciate that. And thanks to the Public Information Office for putting all this together and making it look so good. Our motion here is to receive and file this information. So, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick. Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 5 is Central Avenue and White Street Corridor Traffic Study Recommendation for selection of professional consultant services.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and approve.
By Farber.
A motion by Sprank and a second by Farber. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. City Engineer Gus Sahoyas is recommending City Council approval in the selection of Bolton and Menk as the first-ranked consultant, and that the city be authorized to negotiate a professional consultant services agreement to complete a corridor study for Central Avenue and White Street and the feasibility of corridor solutions based on public engagement and a holistic approach using traffic calming and urban design elements. I concur with the recommendation and respect for the request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion or questions? Yeah, Mr. Springer.
Simple one for Gus. If this is, if we approve this, how long would it take for Bolton and Mink to get a report back to us?
Hi, good evening. Justine Hall, traffic engineer. Mr. Sprank, sorry. That our timeline is roughly November. That's kind of one of the priorities that we set. There were other proposals that did give us an honest timeline that, you know, they could get it maybe later, but we wanted to make sure that we had a report or something deliverable so that we can budget for next year. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Roussel.
Thank you. I just would like to give a special thanks to Joe Kirk and Terry Mosina for those business leaders for being willing to be part of the consultant selection committee. I just think it's really important that we have engaged citizens as we make decisions, and so big thanks to them for stepping forward.
Thank you. Mr. Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was asked by a citizen why we have to spend so much money on consultants and planning things. And when they actually heard themselves talking a little bit and thought, oh, that was sounds kind of silly, because they realize too that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And planning is so important in every aspect. And this is $1 million plus project, of course, what's going on to make this area an improvement. And I think all the citizens know that this Central Avenue corridor needs improvement. We're on it. It deserves an excellent plan. So I'm glad we're going to be doing that. Every profession has their little saying, measure twice, cut once. That's, again, what we're doing here. We're getting a full measurement of what we would like to do and then how to do it. So I'm glad we're starting down this road, and it's the right thing to do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Esmond. All right. Seeing no further questions or discussion, Mr. Sprank asked my question that I had, when we could expect a report back, so glad to hear that that's moving. But great step in the right direction here to be able to continue to move forward with Central and White and the things we've been talking about for many years now. So thank you very much for your work on it and for everybody. Motion here is to receive and file and approve. So Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Next are council member reports.
Reports this evening. Ms. Roussel.
Thank you. I recently attended a board meeting for HACAP, for the Hawkeye Area Community Action Program. And I continue to be impressed with the way they look to find solutions for our community and all the communities that they serve. But what was especially exciting was that they now have an employee who speaks Marshallese, which I think will be really helpful to serve that population, to make them more comfortable and to get them the information they need. So thank you. Thank you to HACAP.
Thank you, Ms. Roussel. Other reports. Yeah, Mr. Jones.
Last Tuesday evening, we had our strategic planning session for the Dubuque Metropolitan Area Solid Waste Agency. And it was just it was a nice review of the breadth of services that we provide at the landfill and in the community. It was reassuring. We have 3 engineering firms that the landfill works with regularly on contracts for various things. We're talking about the value of consultants. We get accused sometimes of not being an expert at what we do. I disagree with that heartily. I think Ken Miller, for instance, our DMESWA administrator, is a nationally recognized speaker and writer on issues all across the full spectrum of solid waste management. But looking around that room, here's three human representatives of an engineering firm that's one of the best in the country at doing this. Here's another one that's working on another airspace analysis for us. Here's another one that works with us all the time on drainage issues. Talk about a room full of horsepower and expertise and caring people. We've got a great program. It's getting better all the time. It's not perfect, but we've had some criticism in this room and elsewhere in the last couple of years. And I got to tell you, I was really proud to be on that agency board the other night. We've got a great product and a great bunch of people and a fantastic team making it happen.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Other reports this evening. Yeah, Ms. Wethel.
I had the privilege of attending the annual United Labor Dinner on Saturday evening, and a big focus was on workplace safety. And I think in our city, obviously, in the last week, that's a real concern we should all have. And I am grateful to share space with people who have a mission to advocate for that. And some of them were awarded for dedicating their lives to those movements. So pleasure to be with them, and I'm grateful for their service.
Thank you, Ms. Wethel.
Mr. Mayor, so I also attended that dinner, and what I thought was unique as well is there was a memorial statement for Mr. Lucy, who had done so much for the union, but what was even more unique was that there was a letter read to his wife, Linda, on behalf, and it was written by President Biden. So that was just a really nice acknowledgement for him. I thought that was quite special. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farber. Well, on the topic of concerned and active citizens, I will just point out that I had the opportunity to give my last joint presentation with Gina Bell, our Sustainability Director, on the trip that we were so fortunate to be able to take on behalf of the City of Dubuque to COP28 in Dubai at the end of last year. We've given a number of presentations in the past couple of months to talk about sustainability efforts, and the same question is always asked of me, and it's, well, what are we going to do here now? What did you learn that you can bring back to be able to do here? And I want to just share with you the answer that I've been giving people, just for food for thought as you think about things over the next year, because this is more of a goal setting type of issue than anything else, because sustainability is always on our mind in the city of Dubuque, but how we approach that, I think, is something that we do differently depending on the time. And one of the answers the main answer that I give to people is that if we're going to do anything as cities, we need to be bold. We have to think about bold action to be able to do things to truly be sustainable over time. And we need to do that in a way that is going to be able to attract the resources that we need from the places that are actually giving those resources out. So some of those resources are coming from the federal government, some are coming from other organizations, private organizations. And sometimes state governments help, and sometimes they make it challenging to move towards sustainability. And we happen to be in a situation where I think sometimes things are challenging. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's a question that's been asked of me frequently as we've talked about this with different groups, and it's been a real honor to be able to discuss this with people who are so concerned about sustainability. In particular, all of the sisters at Mount St. Francis that we got to speak to, and this last presentation was at the Shalom Center, very near there as well. So it's been great to do that, and great to work with such a great sustainability director that we have here in the city of Dubuque, and Gina Bell. With that, we have a closed session this evening, so I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I move that the City Council go into closed session in accordance with Chapter 21.5 of the Code of Iowa to discuss pending purchase or sale of real estate.
Second.
Got a motion by Jones, second by Sprank. For the record, the attorney the City Council will consult with on the issues to be discussed in closed session is City Attorney Krenner Brumwell. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We are in closed session.